The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus said to his disciples, I have come to set the earth on fire, and how I wish it were already blazing. There is a baptism with which I must be baptized, and how great is my anguish until it is accomplished. Do you think that I have come to establish peace on the earth? No, I tell you, but rather division. From now on, a household of 5 will be divided, 3 against 2 and 2 against 3. A father will be divided against his son, and a son against his father. A mother against her daughter, and a daughter against her mother. A mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
One of the greatest struggles in the spiritual life, I think, can be the problem of suffering, right? How does suffering reconcile with Christianity? How can a good God cause good people to suffer? It's kind of the problem. It's kind of the struggle that I think can hang us up a lot of times when we're in the midst of that storm. So how can we, what is the Christian model of suffering that we can find peace and purpose in the middle of that? So I think there's a couple characters in our readings today that can help us. The first is Jeremiah. So here we have a guy that's thrown into a pit and sinks in the mud, complete hopelessness, right? That's how many of us endure suffering, just no hope at all, stuck in the mud. Why, Lord, is this happening to me? Seems purposeless, right? So there's that road. We can take that road. Or there's our Lord, okay? And I don't want to undermine Jeremiah. He's a good guy, but he's a good character in this setting. Okay, our Lord handles suffering really well, okay? And just listen to his voice. He's like, I have come to set the earth on fire, and how I wish it were already blazing. There is a baptism with which I must be baptized, and how great is my anguish until it is accomplished. He's just give me the cross. This is what I came for. Bring it on. That's how he handles suffering. Okay, that's awesome. How do we get more like that? Okay, I think the key is in the second reading, our letter to the Hebrews. For one, it says, Jesus is our pioneer and perfecter of faith. Keep our eyes focused on him. So our Lord can teach us something. And then it says in the bottom of that letter, it says, for the sake of the joy that lie ahead of him, Christ endured the cross. For the sake of the joy that lie ahead of him, Christ endured the cross. Okay, our Lord was not focused on the cross. He was focused on the resurrection. That's how he endured the cross. He saw through the cross to the resurrection. His mind was set way past that. The suffering. He was set past on the goal, the glory that was to come, right? So he was able to endure that because he was just focused beyond it. It was just a necessary thing he had to go through to experience the joy that lie ahead of him, right? So I guess that's the key when we're in suffering, is not to just focus on the suffering, but see the good that our Lord has in mind that will come through it. Okay, that's the message of the cross, for one, is that through evil comes good. Through death comes resurrection. If we just stop at the evil, if we stop at the death, hopelessness. Jeremiah stuck in the mud. If we shoot past it through faith to the good that will come through it, then we can be joyful in the midst of it. At least we can be, okay, our Lord has a purpose here, and we can endure it courageously like our Lord. Okay, I think that's the program. Our Lord did not come to take away suffering. He came to redeem it. He came to give it purpose. Okay, and so there's value in suffering. There's goodness there that we can learn from our Lord how to do it. So I guess the first key of how to suffer well is to do what our Lord did, shoot through the cross, shoot through the suffering to the good that will come in the end. I like to say the cross is like crosshairs in our scope to help us focus through the suffering to the resurrection, right? Through the good that will come. We don't want to stop at the crosshairs. See through them to the good, okay? That's how we focus. We hone in the moment of the struggle to see the good that will come. Okay, so that's what we're kind of doing. That's for the sake of the joy that lie ahead of him, Christ endured the cross. Step one, okay? keep our eyes focused on the goal, the good that's to come. Step 2 is what we call redemptive suffering. So think of, when you were struggling as a kid and your mom would tell you the most unconsoling words ever, offer it up, right? Okay, I get it, right? So offer it up. It's good. It's still true today. But offering it up does not mean suck it up, okay? Offering it up means unite your suffering with Christ on the cross. Intentionally give it to our Lord and be at peace, right? So when we unite our sufferings with His suffering's redemptive, so is ours when we intentionally give it to our Lord, okay? That's called redemptive suffering. It turns our suffering from struggle into a prayer. It becomes redemptive. Offer it up. That's the old saying. Still true today, okay? A couple ways that can help us, like make sense of suffering on this earth. We're all going to suffer. It's how it goes, right? But the beauty of Christian suffering is that it foils the devil's plans. Okay, I don't think the devil saw this one coming. He was happy to make Jesus struggle and suffer and die, but he didn't see that would be the means of redemption, the means of crushing his head. Okay, the same is true today. When you and I suffer, it foils the devil's plans. It still brings about the redemption. He still don't get it. We're still crushing his head. When we suffer and unite our sufferings to Christ on the cross, it becomes redemptive, it becomes a prayer. Okay, so there's that good, and then there's also the good, how do I stay peaceful in the moment? For the joy that lie ahead of him, Christ endured the cross. Same with us. We look through the suffering to the good that will come, and that can bring us peace and purpose in the now. So we learn from our Lord. Our Lord is the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. We keep our eyes focused on him. He teaches us how to live, okay? Not only how to live, but how to suffer, right? For the sake of the joy that lie ahead of him, Christ endured the cross.